Alright, my SQL learners, so let's talk about database indexes. So database indexes play a major role in database performance tuning. So they help in making your queries run fast. And indexes are not helpful all the time, but they come in handy, when your queries are pretty selective. So first of all, to understand what indexes are, just think about the indexes in the back of your textbook, like a book index, right? So this is a screenshot of the index that is in the book that I'm using for my research. Let's say I want to go to the indexes page in that book, or indexes topic in that book. So I can just see what topics are there and what are the relevant page numbers in a book index, and then I can just go to that page and uh, read on that topic. So that is actually the benefit of having an index, as opposed to, let's say I don't have a book an index page, a book index, or a table of contents, which is also an index. Then I would have to actually just flip through all the pages of a huge book like this, and that would mean actually a lot of time spent on just searching topics, getting to the topics that I'm interested in, and that is not efficient at all. So similarly, let's say you are running some queries in your database. Your queries are supposed to be pretty selective. The queries should select only the data it needs to select, right? And inserts are okay, because inserts are just like loading, but then when you're retrieving data using selects, using updates or deletes, then where clause is actually pretty important, meaning that's what decides the filter, like the how much data is filtered in the process of retrieving the data. So let's talk about some best practices of using indexes. Remember I said indexes are not useful all the time. What I mean by that is, let's say you have one table, and we talked about products table in this e-commerce data model that we've been talking about in my tutorials actually, right? Let's say that table, and then you're trying to select products which are in a certain category. Let's say I want only the products in book category. Let's say the table that we are talking about, which is products table, has only books actually, meaning like it doesn't have any other products. Then if I created an index on the categories column, that would not be helpful at all, because we will end up selecting the whole table. Because the way it works is, when you have a query that is selecting the whole table, then it can better do a full table scan, as in like it can go to every row of the table and then retrieve it for you, as opposed to if you're selecting products, as in let's say books which are in a certain subtopic, like let's say uh, chil- children's books, then you might be retrieving only like 10% of the data in the table, or 15%. So in that case, actually, if you used a filter like subcategory equals children's books, something like that, like I said, you might get like 15% of the table only, or retrieve 15% of the table only, in which case an index on categories or subcategories will really help. So how much data are you retrieving? How much percentage of the table? If you're joining tables, then again, it all comes down to what is the amount of data you're retrieving from each of those tables, right? Also, remember that when you create indexes on a table, then inserts, updates, and deletes are going to take a little bit longer, because now, on top of inserting the data, the database has to maintain your indexes, right? It has to uh, insert the index data, and then if you're deleting, then there is like fragmentation, etc, etc. So there is like additional index maintenance when you're doing DMLs. So if you're thinking, oh, indexes are great, let me create indexes on pretty much all the columns in my database, uh, then your DMLs, which are basically indexes, updates and deletes, they're all going to suffer actually, because they're going to be slow. So think about how you can utilize like soft deletes. This is something that is followed pretty commonly in real-time scenarios. Like instead of deleting data, you could just have an additional column. Like let's say in products table, instead of deleting a product, you can just have an active column. You can mark it 0 or 1 based on whether that product is available or not. So soft deletes are much more lighter. The index maintenance is not that much for soft deletes. So of course, explain is a keyword basically, or a tool that's available in MySQL and in many other databases to actually find out whether a query uses an index or not. Use explain, plan, and then find out whether your queries are actually like using the right indexes, before a software engineer releases their code to production. Another main thing is actually to make sure that you are collecting statistics on your table. In MySQL, there is a analyze table command. So analyze table is basically used to collect stats on uh, all these columns, right? Your table's columns. And these statistics are used by the database optimizer to come up with the best plan for your queries. So sometimes actually, let's say that you just loaded a lot of data to your table. You need to update your statistics. If you don't update your statistics, then optimizer will start making bad decisions actually, which means actually the database performance will be bad. You might have to just have a couple of hard days like troubleshooting the database issues, etc., etc. So analyzing tables regularly is very important.